Ladies and gentlemen, just earlier today, the Democrats received some catastrophic news. You see, a new series of political polls just dropped, and they all confirm exactly what we've all been saying for months now. The Democratic Party is completely imploding. Their support is in free fall, their voters are abandoning them, and worst of all, they have absolutely no plan to turn things around. So folks, let's just cut to the chase and jump right into it. Here we go.
First up this morning, a brand new exclusive CNN poll that paints a brutal reality for Democrats as they struggle to mount a unified opposition to President Trump. Americans' favorable views of the Democratic Party's brand are at a record low, just 29%. That's compared to 36% for Republicans. It is the lowest ever recorded for Democrats in CNN polling going back more than 30 years. As you can see, the party's numbers dropping a staggering 20 points in just 4 years. Now, this survey was taken before this week's tumultuous battle over funding the government, which resulted in one of the ugliest intra-party Democratic disputes in years, and left many in the party lobbing furious attacks at Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer, who ultimately reversed course and let a GOP bill funding the government become law in order to avert a shutdown. Now, a bitter round of finger-pointing is taking shape after Democrats failed to get a single concession from the GOP, despite having their first piece of leverage to fight back against Trump. Now the big question, where does a party in deepening turmoil and in open warfare go from here?
Did you guys catch all of that? Right now, the national approval rating for the Democratic Party is sitting at a completely and totally depressing 29%. That is the lowest number CNN has recorded in over 30 years. And folks, here's where it gets even worse for the Democrats. That 29% approval rating, that was recorded before the Democrats had their little stunt with the government shutdown and all of the infighting that followed. So if we want to be realistic here, that 29% approval rating number is probably even lower. Which means we are now looking at a situation where the Democrats are literally less popular than they've ever been before. Now, here's the big question. Where did the Democrats even go from here? Because make no mistake, the entire country has rejected their turn towards radical progressivism. But folks, here's the big issue for the Democrats. They don't even have a plan to course correct. Why? Because all of their young, up-and-coming Democratic politicians are radical progressives. There is no moderate wing of the party left to take the reins and steer them back to reality. But now, there's another clip I want you guys to take a look at, but before we play the video, I want to say real quick that if you guys enjoy the daily news coverage, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton with my daily struggle against the YouTube algorithm. But okay, take a look at this.
First of all, the mood of the country, this really jumped out. We asked folks, is it on the right direction or the wrong direction? That 44%, you say right direction, that's up since November. And if that doesn't seem like a lot, the last time it cracked 40%, you got to go back to 2012. The last time it actually hit 44 or higher, January of 2004. So a lot of this is Republicans, but independents, that number is also up since the election on the direction of the country.
Did you guys hear that? Right now, things are bad for the Democratic Party. Right at this very moment, 44% of Americans believe that the country is moving in the right direction under President Trump's leadership. That is the highest that number has been in over 20 years. So if you're the Democratic Party and you're trying to figure out how to win back voters, how to increase your approval ratings, what do you even do when nearly half the country supports Trump's agenda? It's a losing battle and they know it, but you know what? Somehow it gets even worse for the Democrats. Take a look at this.
Voters' views of Democrats in Congress, the lowest ever approval ratings on record per Quinnipiac University. Look at this. Approve 21% among all voters. Look at the disapprove level. Holy Toledo, 68% of all voters disapprove of how Democrats are doing in Congress. Now, you might think that is low, and this is the lowest number on your screen here, down at 21%. But I want to bring you over here to how Democratic voters feel, because this is truly unbelievable. Amongst their own party, how do Democratic representatives, senators, how are they viewed? Get this, the plurality disapprove at 49%. More Democrats disapprove of the job that their party is doing in Congress than approve. Get this, only 40% approve. These are truly Horrific numbers. They're in the trash bin of history. That is how low these approval ratings are. When you can't even get plurality approval among your own party, you know you're doing something wrong.
And yes, they are doing something wrong in the eyes of the American people. Right now, the Democrats have a national approval rating of 21%. You heard that right, 21%. And if you think that's bad, here's the real kicker. Amongst registered Democrats, their approval rating is 40%. Folks, these numbers are so bad for the Democrats that it's honestly hard to imagine how they can possibly recover from this. Like we said earlier, their party keeps getting more progressive while the rest of the country keeps rejecting their radical agenda. So folks, we've heard the polling numbers, we've heard from the media, but you know what? Let's hear from an actual Democrat now. Maybe we can have a Democrat shine some insight into all of this for us. Where did it all go wrong? Take a look.
Our new NBC News poll, as you just saw, shows the Democratic Party at an all-time low approval rating. Why do you think Democrats are failing to connect with Americans at this critical moment of urgency, which you describe?
Well, it's what I just talked about. I mean, I think Americans want the Democratic Party to stand up and fight and to take risks. Listen, I understand that had we gone into a shutdown, even for a handful of days, it would have been difficult. But it would have sent a message that the Democratic Party is not going to be bullied by Donald Trump. We are not going to let them write spending bills unilaterally that cut programs for people we care about, that give the president new and extraordinary power. I think Democrats in this country, but I think the broad middle of the public as well, want to see our party fighting in exceptional ways. That is the conversation that has to happen inside of the Democratic Party, inside our caucus. And if we don't get that right, if we continue to work with Republicans, if we continue to hand Donald Trump more power, we are going to lose our democracy.
And folks, there it is. That right there is a perfect example of why the Democrats are so hated right now. This Democratic senator actually believes that the reason why they've been losing support across the country is because they haven't been trying hard enough to undermine President Trump. Just think about how insane that logic is. Right now, President Trump has the highest approval ratings of his entire career. The majority of the country supports his agenda. And this guy's solution is to double down on trying to stop him. Folks, this is what happens when your brain gets completely rotted out by Trump derangement syndrome. If it were up to these people, they would have shut down the entire government just to stick it to Trump, even if it meant putting almost 1 million Americans out of work. That's how insane and disconnected from reality all of these Democrats really are. But you know what? You know the real problem that the Democrats have right now? They don't have a platform. They have no plan. Their only plan is to attack President Trump. They don't have an economic vision. They don't have a real border policy. They don't have a plan to fix inflation or lower energy costs or create jobs. Their entire message is just stop Trump. Trump is a Nazi. Trump is Hitler. Trump is a dictator. Trump is a threat to our democracy. But as we all know, that doesn't work anymore. Americans aren't buying that anymore. Americans are done getting gaslit and emotionally manipulated into watching the country implode. Here's the reality. Now that President Trump is back in office, the economy is improving, manufacturing is coming back, border crossings have plummeted by 93%, energy prices are decreasing, and Americans finally feel like their country is headed in the right direction. So hey, if you're the Democratic Party and your only platform is stop Trump at all costs, what happens when most Americans actually support what President Trump is doing? You lose. Big time. And that is exactly what is going wrong with the Democrats. But now, folks, before we wrap up with today's video, I want to say real quick that I've actually gone ahead and made a community Facebook page where I'll be posting additional news and updates as it relates to all of this. So if you guys use Facebook, check out the pinned comment down below and give that page a follow. But everyone, that's going to be a wrap for today's video. So please go down below and drop a comment. Let me know what you think about all of this. Please like the video while you're down there. Like I said earlier on, if you guys enjoy the daily news coverage, please consider subscribing because it really does help a ton. Thank you all very much for tuning in today. And of course, as always, stay safe.